It happens there, everybody looks like this. Why am I sitting here? I will do it at home. I will do it at home without camera, and then you look wherever you want. When I sit in front of you, and I drive all the way here to teach you in front of you, then the least thing you can do is just look at me when I talk, even if I'm boring. Even if I'm... Because when people look away, it distracts yourself. Like people say, what do I do to grow spiritually, to be empowered religiously? 5 Arkanul Islam. The Arkanul Islam are exactly what you need to grow spiritually. But today, the focus is more on doing them than on using them. You understand? Like people, when it comes down to the Arkanul Islam, it is all about ticking the boxes. Have I prayed? Yes. Did I fast? Yes. Did I do Hajj or Umrah? Yes. Did I pay my zakat? Yes. Done. Job done. Now let me continue with my life. These Arkan al-Islam are called Arkan because your faith rests on them. Because your religiosity and spirituality is built on these core foundations. Does that make sense? And when you look into the extra actions, meaning into the forms of worship that are not obligatory, you will see that very often they can be traced back to Arkanul Islam. Do you understand what I mean? Like when you look at the actions that are not compulsory, what are they? Giving sadaqah can be traced back to zakat. Now, night prayer can be traced back to salawat al-khams. Umrah can be traced back to Hajj. Are you with me? So you see extra salawat, extra sawm, extra sadaqah, and extra umrah. And then even when you say reading the Quran is a part of salah. Visiting people and gathering with people and family ties is a part of the Eid prayer, is a part of the praying community, is where we gather. So everything has actually been included without any exception in the Arkan al-Khams. And even in the first rukun, the first pillar, which is the shahada, can be traced back to an iman, isn't it? So the first rukun in Arkanul Islam is the shahadatan. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammad Rasulullah. So what is going on here? Because it looks a bit odd or different from the 4 other ones, doesn't it? Like Salah, Sawm, Hajj, Zakat, or Zakat and Hajj, they are like things that we do. So what is the shahada doing in the Arkanul Islam while it has been included in Arkanul Iman? Isn't it? Like the Arkanul Iman includes La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. Al-imanu billahi wa malaikatihi wa kutubihi wa rusulih. So why is it again mentioned at the very beginning of the Arkanul Iman? For 2 reasons. Islam, for 2 reasons. Because each single one of these Arkan, meaning the Salah, the Zakat, the Hajj, and the Sawm, they have to be done for the sake of Allah in the light of Sunnatu Rasulillah. So the Arkanul Iman, they should be done for Allah. Arkanul Islam, should be done for Allah. And that's why the first rukun is La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. Now, is La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. And you do it in the light of the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So you need to have ikhlas and knowledge in order to execute the 4. And these 4 were made obligatory because they cause you to grow spiritually and religiously. But only if you look at them from the point of view of quality, not as much as from the point of view of quantity. 1 prayer can change your life if you pray it well. 1 sadaqah can change your heart. It can remove stinginess from your heart and greed from your heart. Just 1 sadaqah, if you give it for the sake of Allah Jalla wa Ala subhanahu wa ta'ala. The same with sawm. Allah says, why sawm? لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. Fast so that you would have taqwa. So there are reasons for it. So if we understand that everything we need in order to grow as a Muslim is present in the Arkanul Islam, then we have to start paying attention to Arkanul Islam. Does that make sense? It is by studying them and then executing them in the light of Ikhlas wal Mutaba'ah. In the light of Ikhlas and following the Sunnah explained by the Ulama al-Ummah. And that's why he says, يأتي الصوم في الدرجة الثالثة من الأهمية في تزكية النفس فمن الشهوات العاتية. Now, so he says, and this is why the Sawm came as third, yani third in rank. Now, in the means or on the path of spiritual growth and religious empowerment. Now, so that is the third pillar. The first one, La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. Then you have your Salah, which is the first thing, and then you have your Sawm. But look, Sawm is all about leaving something. Now it's about giving up, between brackets, on something. But you have been prepared by Salah, because in your Salah you're not allowed to eat. In your Salah you are not allowed to speak, so you fast from speaking. In Salah you're not allowed to be intimate, even touching with love somebody intentionally. That would be an action that would not be allowed. So in the Salah there is a form of Sawm. You are maybe not distancing yourself from your physical ones, but from your emotional, mental ones. Meaning you want more money, but you've got to stop working for a moment. Nah? So you're fasting from money when you pray. You're fasting from attention. You're fasting from working. You're fasting from speaking. You're fasting from everything. You're even fasting from turning yourself into any direction apart from the direction of the Qibla. Fasting in the Arabic language means habs. It's to refrain, to restrain, to tame, to restrict. That's Sawm. So Salah is all about Sawm. Even your thoughts. In your Salah, you have to do Sawm of your thoughts. The Prophet ﷺ said, like in Bukhari Muslim, via Uthman radiallahu anhu, he said, يعني من صلى ركعتين لا يحدث فيهما نفسه غفر الله ما تقدم له من ذنبه. And he said, عليه الصلاة والسلام, if you pray 2 rak'at and you do not listen to your own thoughts, then Allah will forgive all of your previous sins. So Salah is even about Sawm, Sawm al-Aql, Sawm al-Fam. Even your eyes have to do Sawm in Salah. Because you have to look at the spot where you are going to put your head during the sujood. So all of it is Sawm. Even your body, you cannot move like you want. All of the scholars agree, if you move too much, your prayer is batila. So even there is Sawm. Can you imagine? So it looks like we have shahada an la ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah, meaning if your understanding of la ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah is strong and correct, you will not have a problem to pray. You will want to pray. Because when you know Allah and His Prophet, you will love them. When you know Allah, you will love Him. And when you love somebody, you want to serve that somebody. And it doesn't feel like serving, it feels like being honored. It's an honor to serve. Right? Don't we see that sometimes on the shields? Honor to serve. So it's an honor to serve. So if you do not experience your prayer as an honor to serve, then you have not understood who Allah is. For you, at least. So now, La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. Okay, I want to connect now. I want to connect to the one, to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So now, after I've done this, I have connected to Allah through prayer. I say, this is not enough. Look at the sequence, right? You have La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. You say like, I have love for Allah. I have love for the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now I want to serve. And serving is praying. Praying is fasting, remember? While you pray, you fast from everything. With your mind, you think of Allah alone. With your body, you're in prayer. You do not eat, you do not speak, no intimacy, nothing. So there's nothing that looks as much as fasting does, as prayer does. Prayer is even more fasting than fasting. Are you allowed to eat when you pray? You're not. Allowed to drink when you pray? You're not. Just like Ramadan. It's just a shorter period in time. So now we look at the sequence, and so we have the love for Allah, and then now we want to connect to Allah, and then I'm fasting and say, this is not enough. I want to give more. What can I do more than just doing this? What can I give up on? What do I like most? It's my food and my drink, and being close to my wife or my husband. to be intimate with husband or wife. So you know what? I'm going to give up on that too. So that's now your third step. Love for Allah, la ilaha illallah. Fasting, a fourth step. Then love for Allah, you want to connect. This is Salah. In Salah, you fast. You say, this kind of fasting is not enough. I should give more of myself. So then you say, you know what? I'm going to give up on eating and drinking. And on intimacy from the morning, from when the sun rises until the sun sets. And then you say, even that is not enough. Look at how it grows. Say like, what can I do more? But no, it's money. Why did money come in the fourth place? Because you need to be spiritually ready in order to give up on money. Meaning that if you find it difficult to spend money, it's because your love for Allah is not strong enough, because your prayer is not strong enough, and because your sawm is not strong enough. But if you were to have been strong, if you would have been strong in these three matters, then giving away money would be like nothing, because now you are connected to the Lord. You fast from the dunya because you connect to Allah. You don't want anything else apart from Allah Jalla wa Ala. You have fasted and you have given that what is theirs to you, really. It is your own self. Now you are in a state of hunger. Now, so what is now happening? You say, well, let me add a bit of money to it. Now, so you start giving your zakat, but also your sadaqat, or your zakat. So you give it. Allah forces you. Now, zakat is not your money. Zakat is Allah's money. So we do not take any pride in giving away Allah's money. Now, because it's not ours. We are not even the owner of it. So that money is Allah's, we give it away. If it stays here, then we're thieves. If it stays in our pockets, we are thieves. From whom did we steal? From the Almighty. So then you give the zakat, and now you say like, well, I fall short in all these things. In my love for Allah, in my prayer, in my fasting, in my zakat, inwardly, I'm still not really at my spiritual high. So, and I have committed many sins and fell short in executing these things. So now I need forgiveness. I will visit the house of the Lord. Some say no. They say that visiting the house of the Lord is because for you now, you are too far away from the house of Allah. You say, yes, I'm praying. But if I can look, if I know the house exists, then now I want to see the house. So now you when you go to the Kaaba and you really long for it, it's the result of what? Of purifying yourself. And that is where the divine call comes and you are inspired with visiting Allah. Because the Prophet ﷺ said, the one who goes to Hajj, is Za'ir. He's visiting Allah. So the one who does this and gave up everything now says, I want to visit Allah. So he goes. So when you look at these 5 things and at the build-up, now and during Hajj, for Hajj you have to spend money. You have to you pray there as well. You meet with the people. Now you do so many things, and all of the things that are present, you have to expiate your certain things that you fall short in. Now when you do your Hajj, for example, you can't do everything. You have to fast. So once again, it is all connected to all of it. Like even prayer is not only connected to fasting, it's also connected to zakat. In which way? The moment you pray, you make no money. It's connected to sawm. The moment you pray, you don't eat and you don't drink. It's connected to the qibla because the moment you pray, you direct yourself to the Kaaba. So it's connected to Hajj. And Hajj is connected to prayer and fasting and also to giving money. So all of these 5 different pillars of Islam are always intertwined. They're always linked and connected, always. So now we need to experience these 5 pillars of Islam differently. It is not just like, it's the shahada, sawm, hajj, salah, zakat. No, it's more than that. It is your school. And that's why I think it's very strange that when people talk about spiritual growth, they never talk about the pillars of Islam. You know why? Because people think that solutions should be difficult. A difficult solution is just a new problem. Do you understand? Like when you look for a solution to a problem, you look for that solution because the problem is difficult. So now if your way to solve the problem is complicated, you have 2 problems now, which doesn't mean that the solution to your problem is easy, but it should be straightforward. You will have to roll up your sleeves. You will be in need of perseverance, commitment, dedication, steadfastness. You can't give up. So that's not what I'm talking about. That will always be the case. But if a difficult solution to a problem is just adding a problem to your problem. Do you understand? So that's why people don't like easy solutions. It's like when you go to a doctor, he says, if you do this, this, and that, then your heart, you will, inshallah, you will be protected against heart problems. And this is that easy. But easy doesn't mean easy. Do you understand? You have to change all your diet. What is diet about? It's just about not eating something. That's all it is, right? Diet, what is diet? Not doing something. Meaning, instead of going for the sweet, you go for the sweets, you go for the apple. It's just changing the way you move. Like eating has everything to do with changing the way you move your body. Instead of doing this, I just do that. And I eat this and not that. Look, just my arm. But that arm is connected to the mind. So they say the only thing that can get you going is a pleasure that is bigger than the pain. If you know that the pleasure that you will get out of going through a road that is painful, and you keep the gain in front of your eyes, then you will suffer and you will go through the pain. And if not, then you will not. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He gives us all these arkan. And then we say, my iman is weak. I'm so far from Allah. What should I do? Start to adorn and beautify what you have to do. Because if Allah has ordered and commanded and obliged you to do this, then it is for a reason. وَأَقِيمِ الصَّلَاةَ لِذِكْرِي. And perform prayer. Pray to commemorate me. Do we pray to commemorate Allah? I pray to tick the boxes usually. Like, oh, it's Dhuhr, I have to pray Dhuhr because otherwise I go to Nar. So there's no pleasure in praying. Let's just be honest. For many Muslims, prayer is not a joy. It's just a duty. And that doesn't make you a bad person. It just turns you into somebody who does not get the benefits out of prayer like he should. That's the only thing. So that's why Imam Ghazali, he said that all the ulama of al-akhirah agreed that for a prayer that has been prayed with an absent heart and mind, one will not be rewarded Yawm al-Qiyamah. That's the opinion of Imam Ghazali and all the scholars of al-akhirah, he says. He said there is ijma'. Ijma'. You read his book, Ihya al-Din, in the beginning of Kitab al-Salah, he mentions these things. Then he says the prayer, if you pray absent-minded or absent-hearted, then that prayer will be considered to be a prayer, but you will not be rewarded for it. And he even went as far as to say, and one will not be given any reward for it in the akhirah. He says, because outwardly praying is just for the fuqaha. Meaning, the fuqaha, does he pray? Okay, your marriage is valid. Okay, that's okay. No, that's the outward thing is just something that makes you a part of the Muslim community. But the inward thing is that which happens between you and Allah. And that is what Allah will ask you about. Your inward state when you are praying. So the fuqaha, the jurists, they just look at your prayer from the outward. Now, okay, you prayed, you made ruku', khalas, we can inherit from you, and this and that. Because a lot of scholars, they said that the one who doesn't pray, that he is out of the realm of Islam. No. I used to say that I was not with that opinion, but I believe that you need to live up to the conditions. And it's very difficult. Somebody who does not pray, what makes him a Muslim? What would then be the difference with the Murji'ah? The Murji'ah, they all agree. They are the Karramiyah. One of them are the Karramiyah. The Jahmiyah. And they all say that deeds are not a part of Iman. Ahlul Sunnah says deeds are that which strengthens Iman and is a sign that somebody is a mu'min. But they have not said that Iman is al-amal bidhatihi, that Iman is action, or it's the core, that deeds are the core of Iman. So it's a very strange thing. But just knowing that the scholars differed, whether somebody who prays or not is a kafir or not, should get you going. That should be sufficient, right? And that, according to many scholars, And I'm just talking about, you are free to do what you want, in your own mind. But according to the scholars of Islam, they would look into marriages, and if the husband or the wife would not marry, they would give him a chance or two, and then they would say, you're not, the ruling would be given that their marriage would be invalid just because one of them wouldn't pray. So now, please, don't take this home and go to somewhere, a far uncle or auntie, and say you need to get divorced because your husband doesn't pray. Don't do that. Now, when you hear something, you are not allowed to pass it on to individuals. That's the danger of fatwa online, right? Fatwa on air. And in fatwa on air, millions of people listen to you, and they think that they are allowed to apply your fatwa that was given to another individual, to their own lives or the lives of their aunties and uncles. That is not true. The only one who can give a fatwa to an individual is the mufti, or a faqih. That's all. So now, Bismillah. That's the structure that we have. That's the plan that we have. Adorn, beautify, and invest. And invest in your arkanul Islam. Start enjoying your prayers. Start enjoying your fasting. Start enjoying giving zakat. Start enjoying going to Hajj before Umrah. And then that can only happen, remember, when your perception or your knowledge rather of Allah grows. When your knowledge of Allah grows, then you will grow. And the reason why we do not grow is because we don't know Allah sufficiently. If you know Him, you never stop. Right? Like people, they would go to the end of the world for their daughter or their son, isn't it? They would go to the end of the world and they would not stop. They would climb the highest mountain, dive into the deepest oceans. They would cross the Antarctics, and they would do everything for the well-being of their child. Why? Because they have that connection, they have that love, because they know that child, it has grown up with them. So if you know Allah, then why doesn't He move you? Because the knowledge is not sufficient. That's where it all starts, and that's what the Arkanul Islam teaches us. You want to grow, then you have to know. That's it. Khalas? Let's continue. So now he says the Sawm is fi darajati thalitha. Now, fi taskiyati nafs. He says what?
Move this thing in the cage.
You have to ask. I don't do that. والصوم تعويد للنفس على التحكم بهاتين الشهوتين. So Imam Al-Ghazali rahimahullah is saying that Sawm is all about, not all about, a lot about, fighting the deviant passions and desires that are connected to eating and intimacy. And not only deviant. No? So it's just to tame. Our scholars used to say, if you want to tame yourself, then you have to remember, have sleepless nights, thirsty days, and empty pockets. Meaning, if you want to grow spiritually, you need to have, do we say white nights? Do we say it like that? Sleepless nights, could we say that white nights? No, we don't? Okay. Sleepless nights, hungry, thirsty days, and empty pockets. Meaning, night prayer, fasting, and sadaqat. By means of doing these three things, you will disconnect yourself from the world with your heart. You give up on your sleep for Allah. People say, but no, I gotta work. Lies. No, the lie is not that you have to work. But if you would be so concerned with your work, then why are you still on your phone at 11 at night? At 11 o'clock, you're still scrolling. But when you say praying at night, then all of a sudden I have to work tomorrow, I will not get up for Fajr, Allah will definitely understand. You know what Allah will understand? He understands everything, by the way. What He would understand, or what we would understand, is that you just go to bed earlier. You don't have to stay up. Do you? You have to stay up. What are you doing? Working. If you work, mashallah, good for you. The majority of people, what do they do at night? They hope the kids go to bed as quickly as they can. And when they grow up, it's a bit more difficult. They're in their room anyway. Majority of the children after the age of 15, they know the room better than they know anything else. Just the screen. And that's not like age shaming. It are facts. So now, if you're going to have a look, barakallahu fikum, so then I can't wake up for Fajr, but I don't want to wake up because otherwise I'm going to be tired when I go to my work. Start waking up for Fajr and go to bed 1.5 hours early. And things will change. So you are making excuses, but we don't fall for them. We don't fall for cheap excuses. Do you know why? Because cheap excuses are invented by the devil himself. No? And he knows you. He knows how to play you. He knows he's the master of deceit. He's the master of deceit. So he knows how to play you. He knows how to come to you and change your mind. So now, we have people looking for excuses for the sins they are committing. Not waking up on Fajr on time is a sin. If you want to delay it until like 6 minutes before the sun rises, that's okay. You're still on time. So we want you to have sleepless nights. I don't mean, when I say sleepless, I don't mean stop praying 5 hours a night. Give me half an hour. Half an hour, 20 minutes, 15 at least. Somewhere 2 o'clock at night. Seems good for your body. To get out of the bed, you move your things, you move everything, and then you go back to bed. So what do you do now? You have these sleepless, between brackets, nights. The Prophet ﷺ, he said that praying during the night, meaning night prayer, will fight diseases. How that works, you have to ask the doctors. But that is what he said. And he said, and it will prevent somebody from sinning. Not from singing. Singing is okay. Sinning. So when I say singing is okay, what goes through the mind of people? Like, does he mean like music is okay? What is he trying to say? Singing is okay. Men and women can sing. I'm not talking about music. I'm not talking about singing on MTV when that existed. I'm not talking about that. I'm just singing is okay. So, so it prevents you from sinning. And then you have thirsty days and nights. It's good for your body. You see all the people talking about intermittent fasting and the miracles it does. 2 years ago, I used to do intermittent fasting, and I'm not giving any advice, but I saw what it did to me. I lost like 12 kilos, and I became much healthier, and my sugar levels went down. And I'm not giving medical advice. I'm just saying, like today, they're talking like they invented the wheel. Like, I read a book about intermittent fasting, and do you know what's a good thing to do? To do this twice a week. Like, for example, on a Monday and a Thursday. I said, wow, subhanAllah, that's like from our Prophet. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So, of course, with the difference that during intermittent fasting, you can drink water and so forth. But nevertheless, they talk about fasting and the benefits of fasting and so much more. So fasting is not just good for your body, it's also good for your mind. And it's also good for your greed. We become so used to eating whenever we want, drinking whenever we want, that we can no longer say no. We became addicted to receiving immediately what we want, and I want it now. And we are all I want it nowers. And if I don't get it right now, then I am angry. And I will behave like a spoiled child that doesn't get a lolly when he's waiting in line with his mother or father at Tesco's. When they start jumping, I want a lolly, I want a sweet. That is us with Allah, and that is us with anything in life. And we don't connect things to Allah anymore. And that's the other thing. Sorry. I don't know why this is doing it. So we don't connect to Allah anymore. Like we go on Amazon, and we are sure that, because Amazon, subhanAllah, we look as if Amazon were the treasure chest of the Almighty. No? That's what it looks like. I just connect to Amazon and I have what I want. No, that's it. Like, we are more sure when we look on Amazon that we will find something than that we are when we ask Allah, that He will give us what we want, what we ask. So I go on Amazon, the treasure chest of the Almighty, between brackets, and I go and I look for that thing. All of a sudden I want a canoe, or I want a kayak, because nice weather, everybody's kayaking now on the River Thames. Now that's what they used to do in Kingston. So what do? Kayak for 2 people, yes. And I do, sold out. This can't be. This is Amazon. So I look, and I don't find anything. And I become angry. Why is this happening? Why this is happening, Habibi, is because the kayak that was meant for you is not meant for you now. Because the Almighty is the one that divides his rizq and not Amazon. Do you understand? So we connect to Amazon as we connect to Allah. Subhanallah. And they will say, my faith is weak, my faith is weak. If your faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's power would be as strong as your expectations when you go on Amazon, you would see miracles happen in your life right now. Miracles will happen. Now, do you think that Allah shows his almost beautiful, majestic powers to those who doubt him? My friend, miracles happen. Many people have seen miracles. Many. One of them was a sheikh. He was in Egypt and he was imprisoned. But then he was released because they found out after many years that actually he was innocent. Like what happened like a couple of days ago. Like in America, it always happens, right? Especially to black people. They get locked up and then after 20 years, they say, oh, it was not you. He said, that's what I was telling all the time. So now, subhanAllah, why did I get there? How did I go there? Tell me. And he was in prison. And he said, they had oranges, a couple of oranges, and what they would do, they would peel the orange and they would share it, but they were with many in prison. So they would eat the peel of the orange, which is like very bitter, it doesn't really taste very well, especially after it has been sprayed by so many. So they eat it, and they said it was the most sweet thing that we ever had. Now, because they didn't have enough for everybody, so they started eating the peels, but they were innocent there. So they said, and when I came out of prison, I told this to my friends, and I said, this is the best part of the orange. So people now wanted the peel instead of the flesh. Now, so they wanted the peel. And they said, eat it. So of course I'm going to eat it, huh? And he said, and all of a sudden I couldn't eat it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala changed the taste of the peel of the orange when they were in prison because they were in need of it. But these people were asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when you read these stories, never weigh the stories of the pious on your own scale. Don't do that. Not like Ibn Rajab rahimahullah in Jami' al-Ulum al-Hikam, he mentions a man that was walking and a woman, and he was a very beautiful man and a man of high esteem. Now he was very wanted, and a woman dragged him into her house, and she locked the door, and she said, "You are going to do with me what I want, or I will tear my clothes, and I will scream that you try to abuse me." So he locked himself. He said, "Can I go to the bathroom?" They had a small little thing. He went inside. That's what Ibn Rajab says, rahimahullah, and then he locked the door behind him, and he said, "Ya Rab." He said, "You said, وَمَنْ يَتَقِ اللَّهَ يَجْعَلْ لَهُ مَخْرَجًا." And whenever somebody fears Allah, Allah will give him a way out of the problems that he is in the midst of. He said, "This is my taqwa," meaning that I didn't give in to what she wants. Nobody would have known, but I didn't. I didn't give in to what she wants, and I locked myself up here. So this is my share, the taqwa. Please provide me now the makhraj. And the wall opened. Now, from a scientific point of view, that doesn't make sense, subhanAllah. The laws of nature, this and that. You believe in a Lord that made the Prophet ﷺ fly on a horse with wings from the earth until the highest sky. And do you think that the one who was able to open the gates of heaven for him is not able to open a door for him or open a wall? Like, that's so strange. Like, people say, I don't know. Do you see everything that Allah says in the Quran? They are all miracles. So it is just because we doubt the miracles, because we look through the lens of weak faith, that we have a distorted image of the one we need to believe in. We look at Allah and we perceive him through our weakness, not through the reality that he shared with us, the Quran and the Sunnah. So that's very important to know. As I said, if you believe, like as much as you believe in other things, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has the power to do things for you, they will happen. They will happen without any doubt. I told you that I had scholars. When they write, they see it 7:30, for example. Now, and they write, and then they look again, and it's 7:25. So is that possible? It's possible. Why not? Why do you have a problem with Allah's power? The laws of nature apply to everybody, but the exceptions are given to whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants. Don't you believe in a prophet that ended up in fire that didn't burn him? You did, right? Not only did he end up in a fire, he was catapulted, right? So was ejected from something, and he flew through the air and landed. He didn't break a bone. That's the Lord you believe in. So this is why, Yani, we have to. I said I will stay as close as I can to the text. I really can't. This is a problem, right? But yeah, you know that beforehand, right? You know when you come to the class that it just goes. Yeah. Anyway, may Allah bless you. So he says, Yani, that if we want to reach Allah Jalla wa Ala, it's by means of sleepless nights. We said that it doesn't mean 5 hours, 4 hours. Sleepless nights. It entails fasting during the day, during the night. No, fasting during the day. And what? And spending from your money on people who are in need, and not only those who are in need, on people you love. Because the Prophet ﷺ said, give each other presents and you will end up loving each other. That doesn't mean that you have to buy somebody's love, right? Like you're desperately giving presents in hope that this person will love you. That is not what is meant. Yalla. So what is the sabr, he says, Yani, then comes to purify you, to help you resist the passions of the passion for food and intimacy and so forth. He said, Yani, that a sawmu nisfu sabr. Yani sawm is the half of sabr, said the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And that's why they call the nisfu sabr, but the other nisf is shukr. So fasting is as much about being patient and endurant as it is about being grateful. No? And we spoke about that in our Friday class. So if you want to hear it, it was in the Sharh of Ihya. We spoke about prayer and gratitude. وَقَدْ جَعَلَ اللَّهُ الصَّوْمَ وَسِيلَةً لِلتَّحْقِيقِ أو لِلتَّحَقُّقِ بِمَقَامِ التَّقْوَى. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has turned sawm, fasting, into a means that gets you to taqwa. What is taqwa? Yani it means that you have a shield, yani that you can use, or a shield and a wall between yourself and the anger of Allah and His fire. And that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Al-Baqarah referred to it and said that if you do sawm, you will have taqwa. And he says, وَالتَّقْوَى هِيَ مَطْلَبُ اللَّهِ مِنَ الْعِبَادِ وَهِيَ تُسَاوِي تَزْكِيَةَ النَّفْسِ. And he says, and the taqwa is exactly what Allah wants from you. Allah wants you to have taqwa. And he says, هِيَ مَطْلَبُ اللَّهِ مِنَ الْعِبَادِ. This is what he asks from his servants. And taqwa is equal to purifying the soul. Because Allah Jalla wa Ala says in the Quran, وَنَفْسٍ وَمَا سَوَّاهَا فَأَلْهَمَهَا فُجُورَهَا وَتَقْوَاهَا قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ زَكَّاهَا. Yani Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala inspired people to have taqwa, and then what? The one that has taqwa will be purified and he will prosper. Khalas? We will not speak about the rules of Sawm. Imam Ghazali does this. Not here, this is a summarized version. But we will speak about the asrar. That is really why we want to read this book. What are the hidden gems and jewels, pearls, in Sawm? Like, what are the secrets of fasting? He says, اعلم أن الصوم 3 درجات. صوم العموم, صوم الخصوص, صوم خصوص الخصوص. He says the fasting is the fasting of people in general, fasting of yani the chosen ones, we are going to translate it like that, and the fasting of the chosen ones among the chosen ones. 3. Sawm al-umum, that's for people like myself, that's the sawm for people in general. The Prophet, Imam Ghazali said, فَهُوَ كَفُّ الْبَطْنِ وَالْفَرْجِ عَنْ قَضَاءِ الشَّهْوَةِ. He says, and the sawm of the majority of people is just staying away from eating, drinking, and intimacy. That's it. That's fasting for them. And that's good. I mean, that's the first degree. If you do this for the sake of Allah, you will be rewarded. But the chosen ones, their fasting is different. فهو كف السمع والبصر واللسان واليد والرجل وسائر الجوارح عن الآثام. It means that he stops, prevents. He's what? He's hearing, and his sight, and his speech, and he's doing with his hands and feet, and all of his faculties and members, that he stops and prevents them from doing haram. Done? So some people fast, they still gossip. Some people fast, they still look at haram. Some people fast, they still curse. Some people fast. Is their fasting accepted? Yes. Their fasting is still fasting, but their reward will be decreased in relation to the sins that they have committed. وأما صوم خصوص الخصوص وأما صوم the صوم of the chosen ones among the chosen ones فصوم القلب عن الهمم الدنية والأفكار الدنيوية وكفه عما سوى الله عز وجل بالكلية. He says the fasting of the highest level, he says, is the fasting of the heart. That the heart during Ramadan frees itself from unimportant matters. And the unimportant matters here are literally everything you worry about in your life. Sawm should be a detox, not only for the body, but also for the mind, for the eyes, for the ears, for everything. You are going to become healthy and build every dimension in your life during the fasting. Which doesn't mean that all of a sudden you don't have to take care of your problems, but rather not with your heart. So he says, it's صوم القلب عن الهمم الدنية والأفكار الدنيوية. So you are going to free yourself and you restrain yourself from everything apart from Allah. You do not indulge in anything during Ramadan without doing it for Allah, even the slightest of things. Even the slightest of things. And he said, and how do we break that kind of fast? Now, how do we break that kind of, the last kind of fast? He said, بالفكر فيما سوى الله. You break your fast, that kind of fast, by thinking of others aside from Allah. وَالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ, and thinking of other things apart from Allah in the last day. And by thinking in the dunya, apart from the share of the dunya that one wants to establish the deen. Meaning, like if you think, okay, you can't stop working during the month of Ramadan, for example, you still need to take care of your family. So now when you work, that's to establish the deen, because that's your responsibility. So that is not included. That doesn't break this fast. But if you, for example, you have enough, you don't really have to work, like, okay, I've got what I need and a little bit more, then you should close the doors. Like merchants that would work until they would have the risk for the day, then they would stop working. We can't do this because our lives are different. No? Our rents are paid in advance, right? Immediately for a month. So we can't just work day per day. So now, barakallahu fikum, it is like when you know that you can do less and still have what you need, do less during the month of Ramadan. Now, so that you spend more time at improving your spirituality and growing religiously. And that is what you're going to try to do. So if you can work, for example, 7 hours a day or 6 hours a day instead of 8, for example, then that's what you do. If you can get off, and some people say, no, I don't like to any holiday, to take my holiday during the month of Ramadan, because that's when I like to go on a holiday, like during the summer, that takes it away. But if you know that it is of added value to your soul and spiritual growth, then at least a third of it. So if you have 3 weeks, spend 1 week you take during Ramadan, and then the last 10 days. So that you can go to the mosque, you spend your nights there, you worship, you're a devoted Muslim to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you spend all of that time. So do that if you can. If you can't anymore this year, do it next year. Like if you have 3 weeks, 1 week during Ramadan, 5 days, not even a week. Monday to Friday, and Saturday and Sunday you're off. So you take 7 days, the last days of Ramadan, Eid included, and you're there. Do you know that people back in the days, they would spend the night, the night before Eid, that when you go to the Musalla with Eid, it's a sunnah to wear beautiful clothes, right? So the goal is that you wear beautiful, even new, if you can buy them, new clothes. And they even say the clothes of your brother, your sister in the deen. That is also what they will do. Like, mashallah, you have something nice, I have something nice. So it looks like we are wearing something new. There you go, there you go. So it is recommended for everybody apart from one person. Is the one that spends the night before Eid in the mosque, praying and sleeping. For him, it's recommended to go with the libasul ibadah, yani with the clothes of worship to Salat al-Eid. So even if it's wrinkled and whatever, it doesn't matter, the clothes of ibadah. So that's the only one who would not try to really look that fancy, because the beauty in his garment is the reflection of the worship. You understand? So that would be a sunnah that our Salaf would do, and that is we can find this in the books of fiqh as well. Khalas? So how do we break this kind of fast? And we break this kind of fast by thinking of others apart from Allah, other things apart from the akhirah, and of dunya apart from the dunya that is at service of the deen, like your responsibilities and everything else. فَإِنَّ ذَلِكَ مِنَ الْآخِرَةِ فَإِنَّ ذَلِكَ مِنْ زَادِ الْآخِرَةِ. Because doing things that are in the dunya for the sake of living up to your responsibilities is actually of the akhirah and not from the dunya. And he says, this kind of fasting, the last one that we spoke about, هذه وهذه رتبة الأنبياء والصديقين والمقربين ولا نطول النظر في تفصيلها قولا ولكن في تحقيقها عملا. And this rutbah of this psalm is the rutbatul anbiya, the level or of the anbiya, the prophets and the siddiqeen and the muqarrabeen, those who are close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he said we will not spend too much time in looking into the details here. So it all comes down to iqbalun, that you direct yourself to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with all your thoughts, your wants, your emotions, and so much more. Then this one is for us, inshallah. He says, and this you really have to write down, the key words. So he says, وَأَمَّا صَوْمُ الْخُصُوص, not the highest level, the one in the middle. The sawm, of staying away from sinning with your faculties, with your body members, whatever you want to call it, is what can be divided into six groups. The first one is غَضُّ الْبَصَرِ. Now it is lowering the gaze. So during Ramadan, you always have to lower your gaze. But during Ramadan, you're going to lower your gaze even more. Now, lowering the gaze to anything that could lead to you being tempted to eat or to drink or to approach the partner in a certain way. So when for example, it can be that a person during the day of Ramadan all of a sudden feels attracted to the spouse. So when you see that happening, you lower the gaze. Not the lowering of the gaze al-muharram, right? It is rather just focus on something else. We are human beings. These things can happen. So meaning that you are going to control the emotions behind the eye. So you see that what you look at, you think about the reason why you are looking at that something. Does that make sense? So that is what he says. He says, the hadith, النظرة سهم مسموم, min sihami iblis. That the Prophet ﷺ would have said that the gaze, now I'm looking at something, is one of the poisonous spears that shaitan throws at the heart of the people. This hadith, he says, is أخرجه الحاكم وصحح إسناده. Some of the ulama have declared this hadith to be weak. According to Sheikh Sa'id Hawa, rahimahullah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says Al-Hakim declared the hadith to be sahih. Now, I'm not going into the details, but actually when Al-Hakim declares a hadith to be authentic, it is not really of added value. because of his authentifying of hadith is his conditions are very low. So meaning he's very easygoing in authentifying a hadith. But nevertheless, he's a bigger scholar than all of us together, Imam al-Hakim. So he says, Sahih, let us go by it. The second one is hifdul lisan. Now, so that you protect your tongue against everything that is haram to speak or to say. And that you occupy your tongue with everything that is good, like dhikr, the reading of the Quran, and making people happy by encouraging them or giving them compliments and so forth. And some of the scholars, he says here, وَقَدْ قَالَ سُفْيَانُ الْغِيبَةُ تُفْسِدُ الصَّوْمَ. And Sufyan al-Thawri was of the opinion, if you backbite during Ramadan, then your fasting is invalid. Then your fast is invalid. This is not the core and the default. But we know that some of the scholars have said this. رواه بشر بن الحارث عنه وروى ليث عن مجاهد خصلتان يفسدان الصيام الغيبة والكذب. And Mujahid, one of the big scholars and students of Abdullah ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu, said, two things, if you do them, they make your sawm invalid. They invalidate your fasting. And they are al-ghibat wal-kadhib, meaning backbiting and lying. قال صلى الله عليه وسلم. The Prophet عليه الصلاة والسلام said, and this hadith is in Muslim and Bukhari. Also here, barakallahu fikum, normally when we do this, we would mention Bukhari before Muslim. Because Bukhari is stronger than Muslim, so we would change it. The only reason why scholars would not put it in that order is when the wording is of Muslim, but that Bukhari has the same hadith with an approximately same wording. So that would be the reason why they would do this. Here, I don't know if that was the methodology of the author, but nevertheless, normally you say first Bukhari, then Muslim. All right. And even then, even if the wording is of Muslim, you would still say Bukhari wa Muslim wa lafdu li Muslim. Narrated by Bukhari and Muslim, and the wording is the wording of Imam Muslim. So we would always give preference to mentioning al-Bukhari first. So we are going to finish on this note, inshallah, with the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, where he said, إِنَّمَا الصَّوْمُ جُنَّةٌ. Fasting is nothing but a shield, meaning it is a shield. فَإِذَا كَانَ أَحَدُكُمْ صَائِمًا. And if someone among you is fasting, فلا يرفث ولا يجهل وإن امرؤ قاتله شاتمه فليقل إني صائم. He said, and if you fast and some, then فلا يرفث. الرفث, the scholars have disagreed about الرفث, like Imam al-Tabari rahimahullah mentioned in his tafsir, فلا رفث ولا فسوق ولا جدال في الحج. الرفث, some have said it is being intimate, some say it is talking about intimacy, and some say that it are all the words that are vulgar. So many opinions in relation to the word rafath. So فَلَا رَفَثَ, and then also you should not behave like an ignorant person. Now meaning in your behavior should be good. And if someone قَاتَلَهُ, and if somebody fights you or wants to fight you, or شَاتَمَهُ, or insults you, then that let him say إِنِّي صَائِمْ إِنِّي صَائِمْ. I am fasting. No? And so meaning that don't do this with me because I don't want to break my fast. So this is one of these hadith that the ulama use actually to point out and underline an emphasis on the fact that doing it would invalidate your sawm, but the most correct opinion is that it doesn't invalidate your sawm, it just makes you a bad person, or rather in that particular moment, at that particular instance, you have a bad behavior. Try not to go shopping right before Maghrib. If you go to the bakery or you go to the shop on the corner to get that last minute date or last minute rice or vegetables or whatever, or a bottle of Coke, and a lot of people like to drink Coke during Ramadan, or a bottle of Coke, then don't expect the Muslim behavior to be at its best. No? And people are very irritable, they are very grumpy, and you never know whether you will be affected by that and be grumpy and irritable yourself. So try to get your things done in advance. And we ask Allah Jalla wa Ala to give us enough life to finish in the second what. So we can die right during the break. So Anyway, we ask Allah to give us life, inshallah, to explain this, inshallah, after the break. Ameen. وأصلي وسلم على رسوله الكريم وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. MashaAllah. Yes. Thank you very much. That's very kind of you. Allah barik feek. Thank you. What's that?
Gift from Umrah from someone.
Gift from Umrah. It's amazing. It's, we're going at a good pace.
No. Everything went wrong today.
Excuse me?
Everything went wrong today.
Why?
So I forgot the screen.
Yeah.
The sound system failed.
Yes.
The camera failed. Alhamdulillah. I got it all back.
Really? Do we have the entire class?
Just the first maybe 1 minute.
How do you wear this?
I would wear Salah and again when you're 60. Just like you do with this car.
Yes.
It's a bit big.
Yes. That's nice. So do I leave this on? This is always dangerous, right? When you go like this, then sometimes.
Yeah, like this or lighter run
Oh, it's really big, huh? Now I need the Afghani hat.
Where's that Quran you have?
Excuse me?
Where's the Quran you have?
It's
Okay.
Are the dates ready for collection now?
Yeah, yours are backed up. I'll give them to Papa.
If I can just ask the sisters to start making their way back to their seats, inshallah, we'll be starting the
Bismillah.
Inshallah, if I can ask everyone to return their seats and
Mashallah, thank you. Let's continue. Where's the thing? Cable. Oh, I took it off.
Just put that on our.
No, I mean for the projector.
It's on. Or do you take it off?
Yeah, I took it off.
How's your battery back?
No good. It's good enough.
It's on the last.
No,
Oh, it's a long one.
yes. I nevertheless could use this to charge my phone. for the time being. Okay. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وأصلي وأسلم على رسوله الكريم. So the upshot of the first class is that in reality, for spiritual growth and religious empowerment, personal development, whatever you want to call it, we are actually in need of nothing else than that what Allah has given us. And of course, we can do a lot of things, but these 5 things, Arkanul Islam, understanding them, understanding the essence, grasping the importance, and adorning and beautifying them when you do them or execute them, will actually give you that growth. So you don't need to invent anything. So a lot of people, they turn their backs to using these 5 pillars, and then they fall short in that growth, because that's the only way forward. So then we said there are 6 things for the Sawm of the Khusus or the Khawas, and when they do Sawm, they also do Sawm one of their basar. So they don't look at things that not only they don't look at things that would invalidate their Sawm, meaning that you don't go scrolling over all these Instagram accounts where they teach you how to cook a nice meal, and that's what you're doing all day long. Like, oh, that's nice. You don't do that, because you should not be looking at things that you should not be doing. Exactly like in your normal life, what is haram to do is haram to look at. Do you understand? What is haram for you to do is haram for you to witness. And that's the same with Sawm. At that level of Sawm, what is haram for you to do while fasting is haram, not religiously haram, but at a spiritual level for you to look at, even for you to talk about. That's the lisan. So you're not just going to refrain from haram and kadhib and namima, you're going to stop to talk about people, about food. What are you going to eat today? Oh, chicken in the oven with some almonds. Wow. Oh, that's a good idea. Last time when I said something in my class, and I said, and then you really want a lasagna, and then and I came home and my wife made a lasagna. So maybe now there is a chicken in the oven. Can I say Ameen now? Oh, subhanAllah. If this is true, and you said Ameen, you are awliyaullah, I will stop teaching you. And we'll all come around for dinner tonight. And you will come around because you're awliya, the one chicken will suffice all of you.
The living room?
No, not the living room. No. So let's continue. So we are not going to talk about food all the time. As I said, during the month of Ramadan, you have to stop talking about chicken and meat, but you should start talking about wanting to meet. So stop talking about chicken and meat, but start loving to meet. So people said, really literally people say, at what time will we eat? And we will start saying, at what time will we meet? And greet Allah Jalla wa Ala subhanahu wa ta'ala with the Maghrib. Because as I say, every Ramadan, Allah looks at you and you are looking forward more to filling your stomach than to filling your soul. To nourishing your body than to nourishing your soul. It's all like outside of Ramadan. I say this every Ramadan. When you ask people at what time is Fajr, they say somewhere around 5, somewhere around 6, whatever. When is it Maghrib? Somewhere around 5, somewhere around 5:30. So they will not know. But if you ask during Ramadan at what time is Fajr, they say, well, there are 3 calendars. One says at 5:01, the other says 2:02, and the other one, by which one do you go? Well, it depends on my hunger. So now this is what people know during the month of Ramadan. Maghrib, they know, like 17.3. Done. And when you ask them during the year, when is Maghrib and Fajr, they don't know. So all of a sudden, Fajr and Maghrib become important just for our stomachs. So that's why, how do we get rid of that? It is by the hunger you feel, the hunger you experience. You should now, and your brain can do that. The hunger you have, the hunger you want to still, now, the thirst you want to quench. That feeling now, you turn it, you tell your body that this is because you want to meet Allah with Maghrib. Do you understand? So you're going to lie to your brain. Your brain does not distinguish between fantasy and reality if you teach it not to. Now, when you watch a movie, now you have feelings of hope, you have feelings of fear, you have feelings of despair, you have empathy, you have hate, really true emotions based on fiction. Now, so it's not true, but nevertheless you feel it, meaning that your brain can be convinced if you allow it to. And that's the suggestion, right? So you suggest to your brain, just get into it and forget about the world and what is happening in front of you. You just dive into that world and now you're connected to it. Well, now that feeling, that burning desire to eat and to drink, you will now say, this is because I want to pray. No? And then when it is Allahu Akbar, and you do this, now it may sound foolish, but you can rewire your brain. That's perfectly possible. You can do a lot of things with your brain. You're going to now to connect this to this. And then if you keep on doing that, you will start believing that what you feel is actually the passion and the hunger to meet Allah Jalla wa Ala. And then you come to a point where the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, like Imam al-Baghawi rahimahullah mentioned, and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, like, I connect my fasting. Now I do wasl and wisal, meaning I fast numerous days without interrupting my fast. They said, Ya Rasulullah, can we do the same? He said, no. He said, why? He said, I'm not like you. Yut'imuni Rabbi wasqini. My Lord gives me to eat and to drink. Imam al-Baghawi says, one of the meanings is, being connected to him is what nourishes me. Now it deprives me from the urge wanting, or it takes away the urge to eat and to drink because I'm so occupied with commemorating my Lord and being near to him. So we will never reach that state, that state of the Prophet, that spiritual state, but we can grow towards it and work towards it. So yes, it's possible what I just said. So how are you going to do this? By not talking about food at all during the month of Ramadan. Now, and don't start like with these small cravings. Now, when a woman is pregnant, it's normal that she has cravings. Now, I would like a bit of I want oranges now, or I want yogurt now, or I want this, I want that. No, that cheese is not the good one. It's the one that is 1.5 hours away from here. They have the best cheese. You go, you come back, and they don't want it. That's normal. You cannot take them into account for it, that the hormones are at play. It's normal. But you, my friend, now, you are not. So then all of a sudden you have your list. Today, I would like you to make me this and that, and this and that. So as a husband, you start dictating what you would like your wife to make that day because you have these little cravings. It's not wrong to say what you want to eat, but Ramadan is all about eating. Ramadan has nothing to do with food. Ramadan now has turned into food. Look at people a couple of days before Ramadan, they start going shop, they shop. They shop as they have never shopped before. Now, kilos of rice and people buy so many things as if they were afraid for that. I don't know how to say it. Anyway, it's strange. So they start hoarding food. Like they believe that the apocalypse is right behind the corner. That's what people do. So don't do that. Just keep on buying what you buy. And if you want to change something, choose healthier food. That's all you have to do. All of a sudden, sweets and dates and this and that, it's piling up and eating and putting on weight during Ramadan, and it's ajib. So that's why, barakallahu fikum, the month of Ramadan, we don't talk about food. We don't talk about food. We don't look at food. Of course, when you cook, you have to look at your food. And so that's hifdul lisan. And then كف السمع عن الإصغاء إلى كل مكروه لأن كل ما حرم قوله حرم الإصغاء إليه ولذلك سوى الله عز وجل بين المستمع وآكل السحت. So very briefly, he says everything that you are not allowed to listen to, that you will not listen to it during the month of Ramadan. But that's obvious. You should never listen to haram. But during Ramadan even more, and you're also going to, why? Because your eyes and your ears are the entrance and to your heart. They have a direct connection. Now they are connected, directly to your heart. So what you look at and what you listen to has an immediate impact on the way you think, the way you feel. That's the way it works. So during your Sawm, you are being cleansed. You are being purified by Allah Jalla wa Ala, so that you would understand the Quran during the night. That's one of the reasons why you fast during the day, is so that you would understand the Taraweeh during the night. So you are being purified. And that's why you don't give yourself an overload of food, because then all of a sudden it has an impact on your concentration and everything else. So then when you pray, the only thing you can think about is sleeping. I think some people literally ask in their dua, in their sujood, Ya Rabbi, make this a short Taraweeh. Ruku' is difficult. It's like with all these kilos, can barely breathe. Then I get up again, and in sujood I feel my food running back to my mouth. Just a couple of dates and a bit of soup is what the Prophet would do. And then the meal, the most important meal, is the one you have in the morning. Now that's where you are going to ask the doctors what you should be eating. No, not me. Anyway, to cut a very long story short, don't listen to this thing. Then he says, الرابع كف بقية الجوارح عن الآثام من اليد. He says that you stop all of your other faculties and members to do haram, and that you stay away from shubuhat waqt al-iftar. He says you should stay away from doubtful matters when you break your fast. Doubtful matters. What are doubtful matters? Some people come to me and they say, yeah, this is haram. I say, why? Well, then he comes with these numbers, right? He says because it's E367, this, that, such. I said, what are the other things? He says, I don't know. I said, do you know everything? Whenever you eat something and drink something, do you know every single thing that is inside of it? He says, no. So we go by the asl. What looks haram is haram. What looks halal is halal. It is very difficult to find out what everything truly is. So that is why, barakallahu feekum, if you really want to stay clean, buy everything organic. If you have the money. And not to fall in the trap of many things that are claimed to be organic or not. No? So that's why you stay away from shubuhat. Everything which is doubtful, you don't eat. Also, during the month of Ramadan, don't buy dates from the occupied territories. Don't do that. No? Their dates have been stolen, and now people are making money through what they have stolen. We don't support that. That's haram. So we're not going to do that. Occupied territories, we don't buy anything from it. Nothing. And doing that would be supporting this wrongful occupation and the catastrophes that we see every day, or which we don't see anymore. It's not because we don't see anything anymore that nothing is happening there. We're just being blinded by the one eye. Television. So, الرابع كف بقية الجوارح, that speaks for itself. And that's why the Prophet ﷺ said, and listen to this hadith, it's ajib. كم من صائم ليس له من صومه إلا الجوع والعطش. How many a fasting person has no share in his fasting apart from being hungry and thirsty? Meaning he has no reward. What does that mean, no reward? It means when you go back to Allah Jalla wa Ala, you will not be punished for not fasting, but you will not have the reward for fasting. And that's the strongest opinion. So your fasting will not be rewarded, but your fasting will be noted down. Meaning you don't come like somebody who didn't fast, you just don't have a reward for your fasting. And that is when you do haram during your fasting. That's the opinion of Ahlul Ilm. Then al-Khamis, very important, he says, أن لا يستكثر من الطعام الحلال وقت الإفطار بحيث يمتلئ جوفه فما من وعاء أبغض إلى الله عز وجل من بطن ملئ من حلال أو ملئ من حلال وكيف يستفاد من الصوم and so forth. So he says, my advice to you, says Imam Ghazali, is that you do not eat too much halal food, not meaning eat haram food, right? don't, when you have to eat halal, and if you do, then don't eat too much. Don't eat too much. It's not good for you. He says, because then you will have your fill, and there's nothing that is worse to fill entirely than the stomach. And that's why the Prophet ﷺ said, Yani, whenever you eat, the furthest you can go is a third. Yani a third. Fill your stomach for a third. How do we know? Well, it's you can't calculate it, right? But it just means that when they said, Al-Hasan al-Basri and Abdullah ibn Mubarak as well, they said, we are people who do not eat until they are hungry, and who stop eating while they are still hungry. So we only eat, we don't eat because it's 8 o'clock. It's 8 o'clock, so it's time to eat. We eat when we feel that our body wants food. And we are not going to feed our bodies, we are going to nourish our bodies. No? We are going to give it something that is of benefit to the body. That's a very big difference. People now, they feed themselves, they don't nourish themselves. We eat many things that are not even food. That what doesn't sprout forth or come forth from the earth or hangs on a branch of a tree or walks on 4 feet and was made halal, don't have anything from it. Meaning the processed foods and everything that has to do with it. Everything you eat it in the way that Allah has shaped it and created it, because from the moment that human hands touch it, it's corrupted. So, yani, you eat a third, yani, and they say the Hanafis are very, very strong at this. They say, and if you have your fill, not meaning you ate more than you can, you had your fill, they say that's makruh, that's disliked. If you have more than your fill, it's haram. Like people who eat and say, oh, this was too much, I can't even get up. SubhanAllah, this is so terrible. I told you that story, right? When I was in the beginning, when I converted to Islam and I was at that marriage. And so first they came with chicken, and then came with fish, and then they came with meat. And I said, this is enough for me. And the man said, eat. I said, I can't. I mean, if I eat more, then it's just too much. And then he took his belly, and I'm not body shaming. That's just, he took his belly. And I said, like, no, but it's the sunnah. The third is a sunnah. He took his belly, put it on the table, and he said, this is sunnah, he said. And then I had like a brain freeze. I was like Muslim for a couple of months. So I said, is this really sunnah? Did I understand the hadith wrongly? Yes, I understood hadith in a very, like when I read the hadith, I told you that the Muslim man salim al-Muslimuna min lisanihi wa yadihi, which means the Muslim is the one against whose hands and mouth, words, other Muslims are safeguarded and protected, right? When I read it, because it was at the very beginning of my Islam, I thought it meant the Muslim is the one who gives salam to the people with his hand and with his words. So whenever I would see a Muslim, I would cross the street. And I would go, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And then probably people found me cute, but also bizarre. So, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So, and I thought it was obligatory. So I became angry with people who just gave salam without the hand. I said, no, the Prophet said, and then they taught me. So that's the danger of jahl. That was aynul jahl wa lubbuhu. And that was I was drowning in jahl. So now, this was like, this is sunnah. So then I found that in al-hadith al-ala'ila, it's not sunnah, it's haram. Having more than you can have is haram. So that's why how are we going to prevent this? Well, in time of the Prophet ﷺ, they would literally eat like this, right? So he would not sit like he would sit like this, with this here, and then you go bit like this, and then it goes against your stomach. So now when you eat, at a certain point, you will feel that you have your fill, but there's still room in your stomach. But you can't eat more because you put pressure on that stomach, right? So, and then the moment you get up, you feel that you have eaten exactly what you needed and not more. So that's one way to do it. Another way, because some people, they eat at a table. So what you can do is just you come closer to the table and you push with your belly, not too hard, of course, against what? Against the table. Or you can eat some salad leaves. That gives you a feeling very quickly that your stomach is full as well. There are many ways to do this. I'm not a doctor, so I'm a doctor, but not a medical doctor. So that's why I will not talk about this too much. It's okay.
It's recorded.
Voila, that's it. Yes. Say it again.
It's recorded, inshallah.
No, I thought you said a Pakistan Urdu word. I thought you said Tukuri, and I said, oh. And if I would not have asked, I would have gone to all the mosques in the UK and say, you know, Tukuri. And then because they're polite, say yes. Cute but strange. It's like this. So they will sit like this, and then here the leg goes a bit like that, and then you sit like that, and that is how you eat. And when this pushes against your belly, then what you will have the feeling that your stomach is full. So that is how the Prophet ﷺ would eat. And that's the way, and that would prevent this. Now, if you sit like that, then that doesn't work, because then that doesn't push against your what? No. Anyway, that's one way to do it. At a table, yani you can do that, or whatever you want to do. But watch out, yani, during the month of Ramadan, you want to go fresh to the mosque. You don't want every rukur to feel like a adhab. And not to speak about how tired you are. Yani when you ate a lot, very often of sugary things, after not haven't eaten for a long time, it makes you sleepy, drowsy, blurry, and there you are. Ya Rabbi, please, I want to go home. Home, why? To watch some television and eat some more. So don't do that. Let this Ramadan really be a Ramadan that is equal to a spiritual, religious, physical, mental, social detox. Because that is what it's for. And all put at service to understanding the Quran. Yes.
When people overeat and they come to the mosque for Tarawih, they burp. And you know, when you're standing next to them is so bad.
Yes.
It takes your attention away. So
yes. I didn't know that happened on the other side. I knew. Yes.
Yeah, you'd expect them to be more conscious.
Yes, but I never thought that happened, because on the men's side, it's like really terrible. Especially people who come to the mosque in the morning, people that smoke, that didn't have breakfast and they smoke on an empty stomach. Please pray in the back if you do that. Stop smoking to start with, it's haram. And then usually they mix it with a nice espresso, with a cigarette on an empty stomach, and then you come to the mosque. Do you know what it feels like to pray next to somebody like that? And the Prophet ﷺ made very clear that when we eat raw, garlic, raw, or onion, that we're not supposed to come near to the mosque. Near, لا يقربن, يعني come near to the mosque. لأن الملائكة تتأذى بما يتأذى به ابن آدم. يعني because malaika are disturbed by what disturbs the human being. So this is why, when you come to the mosque with Taraweeh, have a nice meal in the morning, before Fajr. Eat all healthy things. Drink a lot of water, and so forth and so on. So anyway, let's continue. I wrote a book in Dutch, and it's called How to Eat. How to Eat. That's the book, and it's all from an Islamic perspective. From an Islamic perspective, everything that has to do with food, how to sit, what to eat, what the Prophet ﷺ used to eat, the negative effects of eating certain things on your body, your spirituality, and so forth and so on. So it's not really of an added value if I say it's in Dutch, right? So I'm sorry. السادس أن يكون قلبه بعد الإفطار معلقا مضطربا بين الخوف والرجاء إذ ليس يدري أيقبل صومه فهو من المقربين أو يرد عليه فهو من الممقوتين. So it says, when you break your fast, then after your iftar, your heart should reside somewhere between, in the gray zone between fear and hope. Because you do not know whether your fast has been accepted by Allah and turned you into those who are near to Allah, or whether your fast was refuted, not accepted, no, rejected, and as such you ended up of being of a manqutin, the ones against whom Allah plans. So you don't know. So when you break your fast, yes, you need to have a good feeling, but maybe you have done things that break your fast according to some of the ulama. So Hala, look at this one. This is typical Ghazali. Al-Ghazali is from the Mujahada school. So he will not go easy on you. He will not go easy on you. When he tells you things, he really puts the things in perspective. So he says, فَقَدْ رُوِيَ عَنِ الْحَسَنِ ibn al-Hasan al-Basri. Yani al-Hasan, the son of al-Hasan al-Basri, passed by people. مَرَّ بِقَوْمٍ وَهُمْ يَضْحَكُونَ. And these people were laughing out loud. I'm like really laughing. فقال إن الله عز وجل جعل شهر رمضان مضمارا لخلقه يستبقون فيه لطاعته فسبق قوم ففازوا وتخلف أقوام فخابوا. So he said Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has turned Ramadan, and he said to these people that were laughing out loud, and Allah has made Ramadan an opportunity for his creation, so that they would race towards towards obedience of him. He said, and some people won the race and other people were left behind as losers. He said, how strange it is indeed للضاحك اللاعب في اليوم الذي فاز فيه السابقون وخاب فيه المبطلون. He said, and how strange is it for me to see you laughing now, meaning after having broken the fast, a moment where some people are in loss and some made profit. Now, so he says so now in other words, because that's so he just saw people laughing after breaking their fast. He said, how can you even laugh? So you even don't know whether you won the race or you lost. So that's also Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anhu said this, I'm amazed, how can people laugh not knowing whether Allah is angry with them or not? But these words are very hard, and I don't think they are always the correct approach today. Because our Prophet ﷺ would approach people in a gentle manner. Yes, he would speak about hellfire, but he would encourage people more than inspire them with fear or instill fear within them. قال أبو درداء يا حبذا نوم الأكياس. We're not going to do this one. خلاص. It's done. Questions and answers. So we had the six. Now we had the six things. Barakallahu fikum. I'm going to give the same advice that I always do before Ramadan. So the first one that I've shared is, it's not about eating, it is about meeting. It's not about fish and chips and meat. It is all about how to meet. No? So that's the first thing. So when you talk to your wife, especially the men, because usually they're not very active during the month of Ramadan, especially not at home. It is really the jihad of the women today. The jihad of the women, to be quite frank. And you should know that it's not a woke thing to say this. No? It's not like I'm into the woke thing. Like the Prophet ﷺ would help his wife at home. Now, we were not in need of woke in Islam. Everything was perfect. So men who follow the Sunnah help their wives at home. And I'm not saying this because this is what I'm expected to say today, where gender is being discussed and where all these things are being debated. The Prophet ﷺ, like Aisha radiallahu anha said, would clean in his house, would repair his own garments, and he would help. كَانَ فِي مِهْنَةِ أَهْلِهِ. The mihna means the profession. When he was at home, he turned serving his family in his house into his profession. Now comes the man, lays down, snores his way through the day, and his wife is there cooking alone. And then when it's not finished on time, he's a bit angry. Allah, could you have started a bit earlier? You knew SubhanAllah. Who are you? Yani, what is that language? What is that way of speaking? Right? Just because the men appear in the eyes of the Juhal to have more rights than the women in Islam, which is not the case at all. Now, and this turned into a kind of macho culture where I can speak to my wife like I would talk like people would talk to a slave that should have been free to start with. Understand what I'm saying? So there's no such a thing. When is it ready? You want it quicker? Then go and help. Then go help. Don't cook. Now, I tried to cook once and my wife asked to never to do it again. But I just help. Like, okay, chop some onions. Even that I can't do. But I have to help, right? So I cut the onions. They're much too big. She said, they should be smaller. I said, but how can this be smaller? She says, like this. Okay, good. So now she done it herself. So you help. You help in the best of ways. And if you can't help with cooking, then help with taking care of the children. But now, woman, and yani, characterizing actually, yani maybe she's cooking, no, and the children are actually saying, calling for her attention. It's hot. No, it's hot, it's difficult, she's tired. The children want to eat. They're not going to wait until the evening to eat. They want to eat during the day. So then she has a menu. My son would like to eat this today. I like to eat myself something else, because usually, Miskina, the wife that cooks in at home, she usually doesn't make what she likes most. Do you know that? There is no being more selfless, than a mother and a wife. There isn't. So, Daddy wants to eat this, I would like to eat that, but we're going to see if I find time for that. And everybody says, I would like to eat this and that. She makes 5 different meals, and the majority of it goes to waste. It is not about the food that goes to waste, it's about the energy to start with that she puts in preparing what you want that goes to waste. That for me is that's more terrible. It's the energy, the commitment, the dedication. If you have the money, my friend, then sometimes go out and buy a meal. It doesn't have to be very expensive. Buy a meal. You take you go out with your wife. You let the children at home, and you go to a restaurant that is not too expensive. You have a year to prepare yourself to give the best Ramadan to your family. So instead of going to a snack with your brother, you put that on the side for a year. After a year, you have maybe 300 pounds on the side on the snacks that you didn't spend. And then what? You can take your wife out for a very nice Very nice dinner. That's not me. So that's number 1. So we're not going to talk about food. We're going to talk about meeting Allah. 2, we are going to help, like literally help. You know what a man is? The man should be a man, husband, and father prefers others above himself. So it's not because you're the father you want to be the first served. Like, I'm the father here, yalla, let it come, I'm waiting. And then wait up, I'm going to eat first. This is the best piece of meat. That's for me. MashaAllah, when your children leave your house, they will be just like you. All men walking around looking for the best piece of meat. So what you say, daughter, come. Son, come. What do you like most here? Not all year long, huh? We still want a bit of that fatherly charm. But during the month of Ramadan, yes. Because that is where it is most difficult. Because your daughter, your son, your wife, they crave things on that plate exactly like you. And you say, I will serve this Ramadan. Daughter, son, wife, what do you prefer? Take it. And they take everything and you smile. So they don't take this, son. Go, son, go. Because if you don't, what do you teach your son? To become a selfish, spoiled human being. So if you cannot be patient and endurant just to give away a piece of meat, then you, my friend, in your life will be walking over bodies to get to your goal. So that's it. It's just a plate of. You will survive on a date. This doesn't matter. So that's what you're going to do. Then the other thing you're going to do when the time to eat, to pray, to meet enters, you as a captain of the ship, and I'm not saying that a wife is not a captain of the ship. So you as who is responsible to show the good example, You are now not going to eat and drink until you have fed or quenched the thirst of everybody in your house. You are going to walk with a bottle of water. Say, daughter, come here. Is not that what people who are leaders do? There you go, huh? Tfadal binti. Here you go, my daughter. Is that okay? My wife, come. Bismillah. And you don't fake it. You mean it. You're not playing a role so that people would say, oh, mashallah, you're so nice. That you don't care. You couldn't care less what people tell about you. And you serve them. And after that, you sit down on your knees. You open your own bottle. You say, Bismillah. You know how Allah will quench your thirst by doing this. He will even take away your thirst maybe for the 3 coming days. Kama tudinu tudan. Like you do, you will be done too. So that's another thing that we're going to do. And then the last thing, don't sleep your day away. Ramadan has always been the month of energy and victory. Ramadan was never a period of sleeping and weeping. And you're weeping about how difficult fasting is for you. You're a big man, grown man. Oh, I can't. Do you know what you look like when you talk like that? SubhanAllah, I'm so hungry today. You're not hungry. You don't even know what hungry is. You want to know what hungry is? Go to Yemen. They know what being hungry is. Somalia, they know. Ethiopia, they know. They know. You're crying. Almost crying, literally. And then you're talking about how difficult it is today. SubhanAllah, yesterday it was easy, but today, SubhanAllah, I don't know. I'm not complaining. You are complaining. So today, when Ramadan starts, we will not talk about hunger because we are not hungry. Now we are just hungry, huh? Angry because we are hungry. We're hungry. So that's all we are. So this is why, barakallahu feekum, many other things that we will talk about inshallah in the future. But I think that this can already help you bi'idhnillah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the less you spend on making the food, like don't turn your houses into restaurants during the month of Ramadan. Don't turn your houses into restaurants during the month of Ramadan. As I said, eat in the same way, only healthier. Don't start doing special things and special dishes. That's for Eid. The goal of Ramadan is that you would eat less so that you would meet more. Now, that's the goal of Ramadan. It's to free yourself from food and drink so that you would connect to the one, not to the food of this life. Wallahu subhanahu wa ta'ala a'lam wa usalli wa usallim ala rasulih al-kareem wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. If you have questions, then please ask.
Going back to absent-mindedness in prayer.
Yes.
What's the definition of that?
No. So it means that you wander off with your thoughts and that you're no longer present in the moment. So that means as long as you know that you're praying, no, and that you don't wander off with your thoughts, like all of a sudden you are somewhere else. You are, I don't know, you're thinking about something that took away the notion or the feeling that you are praying. That is absent-mindedness. So it doesn't mean that you're in the highest state of spirituality. Even if you're just here and you keep your focus on I am in prayer, that's being present-minded. Present of mind, rather. Does that make sense? No. Yes, what did you say, Khaya?
There's a question when the pious and the scholars say hunger has benefits and energy, what does this mean for us laymen? How do we get to this state with hunger specifically?
Hunger will cause that. In the beginning, hunger is difficult, but then you will find hunger stimulating you to do other things. Because you automatically, when you are hungry and you can't find food, you will try to do things that take away that feeling. And you can only do that by occupying yourself with something else. And if that thing is then the reading of the Quran, prayer, being with your family, that will still your hunger, or at least that will channel that emotion towards into another direction. So hunger always has benefits. Like even what you eat when you're hungry will not be digested by your body as the food that you give to your body when you are not hungry. It are two different things. Your metabolism is completely different. So when you are hungry, it's good for you to eat when you're hungry. And then you burn more calories, you do so many more things when you're hungry. So that's why there's nothing as bad as a filled stomach. And many diseases come through and by what we eat and how we eat. So if we would just change that already, then a lot of things would be cured, and a lot of diseases would be be fought by the body itself. Somebody else? Yes.
Sorry, this is unrelated, but is zakat payable on a pension? Now it's
Zakat's payable on everything that you put on side. No. So every money that you have and that you have access to, or that you could have access to if you wanted, is money that you have put on the side, and that's what you pay zakat on. So it is not the estimate of what you would have in 25 years. It's really what you have contributed and that is put away. No? So that is money that you have. Do you understand what I mean? No.
It's
Yes.
not a question, it's just a statement, because today's lecture, what you're saying is that, how we do all these arkan and our heart has to be present. I mean, we have been like Hajj, I mean, you do it because it's from Allah and it's a farm, you just do it. I don't know if the heart is there, or I thought that my heart is there, but there was this urge to do it because I will please Allah. But it's arkan from him. Maybe not with that. I don't know. And so is the namaz. We do the salah because it's further on us,
Yes.
so we have to do it.
Yes.
So, but today's lecture, I sort of, the way you said we have to think in our heart
No.
has changed all that. So
Alhamdulillah.
it's subhanAllah, we've been doing these things, but not with our heart.
Yes. Alhamdulillah, I'm happy. I'm happy that you took that away from the class. Alhamdulillah. Mashallah, there are a lot of people today.
Yes, I was complaining there aren't very.
Subhanallah, yes.
Subhanallah.
So we're back in the days. Do you remember? Like there are a lot of people, mashallah. This really makes me happy. Do you know why? During COVID, I was teaching and I was watching a screen all the time. Like I would not see people, would not see a smile, would see nothing. That was the most difficult period to teach. Not complaining, I'm really not. But it was like you wouldn't see people. And then subhanAllah, after COVID, it looked like people said like, well, if we can do it online, why should I be present? But being present in person is never as the same experience as being face to face. For me, at least, it's not the same. So alhamdulillah, I'm very happy that you are here. Inshallah, let it grow. And let it grow, inshallah.
So inshallah, we're going to carry on with the Ihya.
Yes, next week is Ihya. But I finished the zakat, the song part. So, yes, I read everything that was there. So what do you want me to do then?
Okay, we'll discuss it. Inshallah.
Okay, that's good. So I read from Ihya what I had to read. It was a summarized version, and I read that part.
So we'll
So
carry on with the tafsir.
yeah, we carry on with the tafsir of Surah Yusuf. Yeah, we finished what we had to do. Unless you want fiqh of siyam, but that would not be the Hanafi madhab. So, yeah. Okay, jazakumullah khairan wa barakallahu fikum. وأصلي وأسلم على رسوله الكريم وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين.